-1. Hey there, everybody, and welcome to the Android Central Podcast. It is episode number 150 for Friday, September 13th. Woo! Friday the 13th! 2013. God, that's a lot of 13s. So, welcome back. It feels weird being back, guys.
You've been away for a while.
Well, sort of. I mean, we did
Jerry
two podcasts
and I have
last
been
week.
here the whole time.
Okay, fine. So, welcome to the show. I am Phil Nickinson, the editor of AndroidCentral.com. If it's your first time joining us, thank you. Oh, I can hear myself. Damn it. I hate it when that happens. I had the website open somewhere. So, we are back. I'm Phil Nickinson, editor of AndroidCentral.com. I will say it twice, just in case you forgot from 10 seconds ago. We got Jerry Hildenbrand from the site.
Who just broke his chair, so this may get wild.
We're having a very... Oh my god, I'm still on somewhere. Oh, I can still hear myself.
We're having technical difficulties of all kinds.
Where do I hear myself? That's not good.
I can hear you through my headphones.
Can you hear me through the headphones?
Yes.
Where's this coming from?
I have my headphones turned up pretty loud. It's possible.
I don't hear double of anything.
Okay, then it's not coming back
I
through my
don't
headphones.
even have any windows open. I did have a window open somewhere. That was bizarre.
Just close them all.
So, yeah, Andrew Martinick on the other side.
Nailed it. You got it.
Thank you. Hey, we've got this audience questions thing loaded up in the Google Hangout that, you know, if you're watching, throw a question. We'll see how this works. We haven't done this before. It's brand new, actually, to Hangouts. So if you're watching this live, cool. Throw us a question. Maybe we'll start doing this. If it works, start doing it instead of voicemails. Well, we haven't done voicemails in forever, but emails. I don't know. What do you think? We'll see. Somebody's got to leave a question, though. So if not, I'll get sad.
Firing up the troll account right now, Phil.
So yeah, we're back. I was in Berlin last week, which really sounds weird to say when I stop and think. But it's like, yeah, I was in Berlin. No, I'm not. I don't know. It was a good trip. It was a good conference. IFA. You guys got any questions out of IFA?
What? I did have something I wanted to ask you.
Don't ask me what IFA stands for, because I still don't know.
Oh, it was about the watch. I think a lot of people were interested in the watch. Is it? Did you put one on your wrist? Did they let you try one on?
I did not get to. Alex did. So I'm waiting to actually really get to play with this thing before I get like the full experience. Alex did. No, he went to the briefing. So by the time I got there, because I got the God, if you haven't heard my travel woes by now, it was not fun. You know, speaking of bizarre, when they're like, yeah, you got to go to Paris first. It's really. I mean, I know it's travel and we're used to it, but it still seems really weird to just be like, yeah, I got to go to Paris real quick. I mean, not nearly as glamorous as it sounds. But
well, I was just wondering because, dude, that thing looks huge.
It's not that much bigger than the Pebble, I think.
Okay.
It's slightly different shape. I think it's a little wider, maybe. I got my Pebble sitting here. I think it's a little wider than the Pebble, maybe. Definitely a different like look and feel to it. So I'm really curious to try this thing and to use it. And I think we all said it last week. Like, we love the idea of this thing. We don't necessarily want to be locked into Samsung to do it. So that's still going to be a big sticking point. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm really curious.
Yeah, I get why it's debuting with the Note. Only works with the new Note. I get why they went there. I don't know if that's going to make the launch better or worse because, you know, it could go either way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It could be spectacular and make people want to get a Galaxy Note 3 like Samsung's hoping.
Right. Well, and I mean, they will open it up to other Samsung devices, and there are a whole bunch of them out there. It's just, and part of it's just selfish, right? I don't necessarily want to use a Samsung device, but I really do want to try this watch. So we'll see.
Well, and for people like us that switch phones so often too, right? And you want to be able to review like the LG G2, and if you know your watch is just going to be sitting on a shelf that time because it doesn't really do much without being connected to the Note.
Right. And even then, it was weird. a little bit weird. Yeah, I mean, one of the main reasons I love this Pebble is not so much for the notifications. I can go all day without the notifications on my wrist, and I'm okay with it, especially if I'm sitting here at a desk. But for me, using it as a trusted Bluetooth device with the Moto X has been kind of a big deal. And it was weird as I was switching, because I switched a couple days in from the Moto X to the LG G2, and losing that trusted Bluetooth device, I wrote up something the other day. It's like, well, hey, I still don't have to unlock this phone. Oh, because I didn't put a lock on it. And that's just not good.
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Because I email you all kinds of secrets that people could find.
That's true. No, so it was really interesting. The Sony stuff. I want to hear from Jerry right now, because I sent Jerry the QX10, the little weird camera thing that I had in my eye earlier this week. I can't believe it took us so long to think of doing that, by the way.
Dude, I'll tell you, my first quick impressions were not good. The app, and it's...
Oh, the app's horrible.
Did you try the app on a Nexus?
Not on a Nexus, no.
See, I wouldn't have. Kevin O'Quinn told me, because he has the RX 100 that uses the same app. He said, yeah, that app sucks on everything except a Nexus device. Try it. So I hooked it up to the Nexus 4. App's rock solid. It still doesn't do a lot. You know, there's not a lot of features there. Just push a button and zoom in and out, take a picture. But the app is rock solid on the Nexus. So I did take a couple pictures. They look awful nice. Just point and click at something.
Yeah.
They look really nice.
Again, that's not even the...
Right.
I mean, that's not even a good one. That's
right.
This is the mere, what, $200, $300? I forget what it is.
Yep.
$250.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure it's going to be worth that. I'm going to be honest with you, because you can get a nice little Canon S100 for half that. That's going to take pictures just as good. But we'll see. I mean, I'm
it's surprisingly
excited.
fun, though.
Oh, sure. Snapping it to your phone, and I had a ball just showing it to the wife and trying it on different phones and different things like the TV remote or anything that it'll snap to. It just makes it look like a camera.
And remember, I was the one who was saying, I think it's dumb, it's never going to work. And I'll be the first to admit, I had fun with it. It was, especially because you're sitting around, you're just like, ooh, here's a camera. And yes, you can hang it off your glasses and pretend you're bored or something. I mean, that was probably, after the Note 3 and the Galaxy Gear, probably the next hottest device out of IFA, I think.
I'll tell you what, I mean, it instantly hit my mind. Somebody with an HTC One, buy the cheap one. If you've got the money to swing in white, it'll look good on your phone, and for those times when you need that quick low-light camera and don't care if it's a little grainy, you use your phone. But then you've also got something you can put in a bag or your purse where you can get some really, better shots than you're going to get from any other camera phone. Even, I don't want to make people think that this cheap one the pictures are no good. They're infinitely better than you're going to get from any camera phone. So, it make a nice little companion.
And the QX10 kind of lends itself more to packing it around, because it's actually really small when it contracts. It's like half the size of the QX100, right?
Yeah, it's about
depth-wise, right?
Maybe I would say about an inch and a half tops.
Yeah. Well, and you've got the little
you can pop that off, and it makes it even shorter. But
that was the other interesting thing. They had those little cases for the Xperia Z1, and then it would clip directly into that.
I think that is really cool, because that's it. Then it's the same motion as putting a lens on a camera, right? You put it on and you twist and it's on. You don't have to worry about the little telescoping things and clipping it on. It makes it look way more factory, of course, as it would for a Sony phone. But
hey, so we're getting questions rolling in, so I guess this thing works. So Jonathan asks, where was Sony hiding the Z1 Mini at IFA? I didn't see a Z1 Mini. Actually, it's, for me, a lot of it was really new, because we don't get a whole lot of Sony stuff here. Alex and Richard, Richard, were more used to it than me, but they had a big wall of every Sony device, and it was really cool to see, but I didn't recognize any of them. It's all pretty foreign to me, so that was new.
It makes me cry every time.
All right, so let's see. So I click on the question when we're talking about it, and then I hit done when we're done with it. Gotcha. All right, this makes sense. So it's actually, that's kind of cool. I like this.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the next question.
All right. Hang on. I got to click it first. You can't answer it. All right, now you can talk.
Jason says, if I attach this camera to my Nexus 4, will it try to assimilate me and shoot lasers? God, I hope so.
Give it a shot.
Yep, I would love to be able to shoot lasers out of my phone in traffic, at the grocery store, at the mall.
Somebody's got to rig one up with that. That'd be great. The problem is it's heavy on your face.
Yeah.
Like you need some good like strapping on the side of your head to just. I hope somebody screenshotted that. Yikes. No, IFA was fun. We had a good time. I mean, it's a weird conference in that. For me, it was brand new. Right? It's the first time I've gone. Different layout, sort of. I don't know. I mean, it was nice actually. We stayed right across the street. I couldn't even connect to the Wi-Fi in the press room, and the guy said it was even slower than our hotel. So we would just go work in the bar in the hotel. So
there's all kinds of benefits.
Yeah, exactly. Right. No, it was fun. It was good stuff. We've had. I tell you what was really bizarre. So on my weird travels over there, I get stuck in where was I? I was in Paris for a few hours before I could finally get to Berlin, and all of a sudden this Kit Kat stuff comes out, right? And then all of a sudden this picture of this weird giant Nexus comes out. And now this week we've had another FCC filing. This was really bizarre. So our friends at PhoneScoop first saw this. They found more pictures of what probably is that same device, but it was tucked into a G2 filing, and it wasn't like a separate, device filing. And I don't know enough about how FCC filings work to really intelligently talk about that, but it just seemed odd. And Eric said, they've seen it happen before, but it's pretty unusual, and they were trying to sneak it through or something. I don't know, but definitely, a better shot of something. Now it looked, very, very prototypey, right? Not
extremely. It looked nowhere near production. The back cover still snapped on with weird little hooks on it, and the sides and the back had different textures to them. It was weird.
A port in the top, big cutout, so you can attach, a connector. Just weird looking.
And, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but basically all they have to do for these FCC testing is have a device made out of the same materials and the same dimensions, right? It doesn't have to be the production stuff. It just has to have the right labeling and everything. So
I would think, as long as they can get the correct radiation readings, that's really all that matters with the shell. But again, like Phil said, who really knows? This is the U.S. government. I mean,
true.
This may put the Nexus launch back 6 months because they have to refile it again.
I don't know. I mean, I think there's like an October 14th date floating around or something. I don't put any faith in any early dates that come out because you just don't know. And they change all the time, right? So whatever. I mean, yeah, we're getting into that window when it can probably happen anytime. I would think late October, early November, right? Right?
Yeah. I really expected to hear something more this week. Something official.
That cat train.
Yeah, but we didn't get it. And I know I'm not the only one who expected it, but it just didn't happen. But other than that, the only thing I'm sure of is that nothing we see or think we know now is going to be right. So,
do you think it's going to be? I mean, what was odd to me is they just announced 4.3, and we just got 4.3, and we're already talking 4.4. Does that kind of cement that 4.3 was really just kind of I hate to say bug fix because it's definitely
it kind of was though.
Yeah,
4.3 could have very easily been a 4.2.3 or 4.2.4 or something.
And stuff that goes on behind the scenes in the code, they have to. I'm sure the people that doing the roadmap for Android, they're already planning for version 7, and you have to start laying the groundwork now because you can't make it so the current operating system is incompatible or the apps are incompatible, so you have to get the changes in there slowly. They don't want to just drop Android 5.0 and say, oh, hey, none of the apps work. So I mean, it's hard to tell exactly. You know, you could sit and look through the code and audit it all, but I'll bet there's a lot more changes than we think went into 4.3.
Well, I mean, there always are, right? And
Yeah.
that's why I really hate it when people are, it's a minor, it's a minor. I mean, tell that to the people who did it.
No doubt.
Yeah, it's, I mean, I get from an end user standpoint.
But we better get used to that, I think.
Yeah.
Android's mature. What more? I mean, there should be no more big changes anytime soon, I hope.
I mean, at some point, we'll probably see another big UI refresh
Sure.
or something. But
But I hope it's not this time.
it's been really interesting, and especially when I think back. I tell you, here's how cool this job is, everybody. I wake up. Was it Sunday? And remember, I'm 6-7 hours ahead. Everybody. I get up, and Jerry says, "Hey, I wrote this thing. It's in the back. If you get a chance to read it, cool." So I'm in the airport in Berlin. I'm waiting to go, and I read this thing Jerry wrote about the Moto X, and we sent him like the pre-production Moto X we have to play with, because I really wanted Jerry to experience this Moto X because it's damn near Nexus, right? It's almost as stock as you can get minus these extra things, and Jerry wrote it, and I, made a couple tiny little changes, but half asleep, half awake, and really, really good read, and really well received. So that's when we're starting to see more phones like that. I think that's a testament to how far Android has come. And then, complete other end of the spectrum, we're playing with the LG G2 all week, and the Note 3, in these heavily, I don't want to say overdeveloped devices, but
say it.
Well, no, look. I mean, for better or for worse, they are, right. I mean, that's complete right of the manufacturers to do that.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. And I was thinking a lot about HTC with that this week too, because while I prefer, I think, what HTC does over what Samsung does, I think I used the word overdeveloped or something like that. And I did that Engadget Q&A that came out today, and I think that's very much what I meant. It's not from like a lack of wanting to make it better, because they obviously do, but it's like almost. I tried. What else was it I wrote? I said something about, or maybe it was a couple podcasts ago, because a lot of people got upset at this actually, when I said I'm tired of all the features and it's just too much and nobody can keep up with all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's just. I'm really curious to see what people can do, what companies can do when they scale it down, when they relax a little bit and give us a few things that work really, really well. So that's why I wanted to hear what Jerry had to say about the Moto X. So we know Motorola is kind of on board with that. Do you think at some point we're going to see? I think Samsung's never going to do it. They're never going to scale back. LG probably not.
No, but Samsung made a Google Play Edition phone. Maybe that's their way of scaling back.
No, I think Google made a Samsung Google Play Edition phone. You know what I mean?
That's the same end result, though.
Well, that's true.
If you don't think that Samsung's ever going to scale back, and Google would prefer to have that option available for people, then in the end it's still on sale and people can buy it and have it and not have to and have that choice.
Yeah.
Well, no, I want Samsung and LG to keep fighting with each other and putting everything but the kitchen sink in their phones, because some of that stuff is going to be really kick-ass, and you're not going to get the really good stuff if they're not trying so hard to just cram everything in there.
So let's talk about the G2. We've kind of held off from writing a review because what I have here is pre-production, and the software just wasn't final. The hardware was final enough where I had no problem using it, and the software was good enough where I could use it, as a device, but not enough to where I wanted to do a review of that. And this is the European version, so you really, we're writing mainly for a U.S. audience, and we're in the U.S., so you need to be able to use it on the actual networks here. But we now have carrier versions. Jerry's got AT&T. Andrew, you've got Verizon. So I want to hear what you guys think. I've written a lot about it already, just kind of the bits and pieces. Andrew, why don't we start with you? And give me your 2-minute spiel of what you like in this thing.
Well, I've only had it for about 3 hours now.
That's long enough. Review it.
I've been doing the hyper, get everything set up kind of thing. I can already tell that the knock on or knock thing is they had to do it, and it's an awesome way to turn the phone on and off, because that power button is just, it's just not very accessible. Especially, I have kind of big hands, so when I hold the phone, my finger is over here. I have to bring it all the way over, and you have to hold tightly onto the sides of the phone.
Yeah, but you're
to be able to
freakishly
hit
huge.
it.
People can't tell that you're actually 8 feet tall.
Right, right. So for me, for my hands, it just doesn't work without the knock-on, knock-off thing. But anyways, they got past that. It's going to take longer to see if the volume keys are an issue. You know, I don't turn up and down the volume all that often, except for when, you know, you're watching a video or listening to music or something and you turn it up and down. That's not a big thing. The software, I can already tell that it's, like you said, maybe a little overdone. There's you pull down the notification shade, and there's 3/4 of the notification shade is filled with stuff.
Yeah.
Now the software on the Verizon one's a little different from AT&T and International. The settings are different, and they changed a few things. But what I did for about 20 minutes after I got the phone out of the box, started installing apps, was turn things off.
Right.
I went through, turned off the crazy animations, turned off all the sounds, turned off a lot of the features, and, changed things back to, the more standard kind of layout. And it's not completely offensive now, I guess is the way I could say it. It's going to be something that I'm going to have to get used to.
See, I did the opposite. Now, if you just touch mine, it just screams the Vienna Boys Choir as loud as it can.
Yeah, then there's the Vienna Boys Choir.
No, I think Andrew hit it right on the head, especially the first 10 minutes is involved shutting everything off.
Right.
And there's still some things you're not going to be able to turn off, right? You still have the software menu key. It's just going to be there no matter how you configure it. The way they do multitasking in Google Now is forced to be the way that it is, and it's not going to change. And, those things are just, they are what they're going to, what they are. And but that's the case on every phone, right? Every phone does things slightly different, except for the way that the new Droids and the Moto X do.
This menu button, though, is just killing me. It's like, why is there... Jerry and I were talking about it this morning. Why is there
we
a
have
menu
some
button?
theories.
Do any of them involve heavy drug use or something? Because you have software keys. Why are you messing it up?
Well, and so the funniest thing is that you can configure them, right? You can choose between like 10 presets, but none of them are the stock preset.
Right.
And none of them involves a multitasking button.
Choice.
I know that Jerry has one theory about why they're doing the software menu key.
Well, yeah, I think they make phones with capacitive buttons that are going to have a hard-coded menu key that's always there. And if they make sure there's always a soft key menu button in place, it's easier for app development from different phone. LG's apps can just work on anything that's running the same version. But that's just a guess.
And that just kind of screams laziness too, right? Or lack of resources or something.
Oh no! No, that's not, I wouldn't go lazy. I'm sorry, programmers out there. He doesn't know.
No, well, that's the thing though. If they wanted to not have to deal with it, then they could have just given the option to have a multitasking key right next to the menu key.
Right, you just used a harsh word to say it, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, maybe lack of resources was a better way to put it. But like they can't rewrite every single one of their apps to work the right way, because they have this, like you said, this long history of these apps that they've iterated on that have always looked for the hardware menu key. And if they didn't want to change those, there are better ways they could have not changed them.
Sure, the Android guidelines would have worked for starters. But
right.
But in the end, I'm glad the software is the way it is because somebody out there is going to love it. I want them to have the phone they can love too.
I tell you, what this phone has done to me, I'm tapping on everything now. Everything. I've done it on the HTC One. I've done it on like every other device now. I'm tapping the display to wake it up, especially if it's sitting here in a desk. It's going to spoil you. What's cool is actually here I've got it. So I put the thing up this morning about the quick window case.
Yeah, that looked pretty neat.
So actually, yeah, I mean, here's how easy it goes in, and they did a really nice job of this. It just pops in. That's it. Done.
Huh.
But what's cool is you can tap that too.
Oh,
and it
yeah,
works.
that's cool.
I like it. I like the way you can swipe it and get your different clock faces, and it's nicely done. Like, it's a good case. I'm not a case guy, right? We know that. But this is really thin and really nicely done. So I'm not sure if they have it out for the U.S. versions yet. We need to check.
You have to take a X-Acto knife and peel the layers of that cover apart and let's see what's inside it.
No, there's a magnet in it.
But it just a magnet can make it do that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can see the magnet. It's right here. There's a little round spot.
I'm going to be playing with magnets.
This should technically sort of work with the AT&T version. Although what's weird, I've got a picture, and I'm waiting for a better answer because my LG contacts didn't actually know. There's a, let me pop it out of the case. There's an extra microphone hole on the AT&T version, like right here.
Yep.
I assume it's a microphone hole.
Yeah, it's right.
Right.
By the
But
LED, if you can see.
I don't have it on this one. I don't know if it's a pre-pro thing or what. So I'm trying to get an answer.
Well, there's a secondary mic on the top of the Verizon one.
Right, and there's a secondary mic on the top of this one too.
I would think that's got to be for video recording, and it's inactive any other time. I would hope.
I guess, but I mean, I don't even have that physical hole on here. So it's weird. So I'm waiting to hear back on that. I don't know. It was interesting the physical differences. I mean, on this one and on AT&T, you have these two speaker grills down here, which we figured were two speakers. But Verizon, it looks different, and then one of these is the microphone. So I guess there's probably another mic hidden under that other speaker grill.
I've played with.
So the Verizon one's got like 3 holes on one side, and then the microphone and the headphone on the other.
Yeah, Verizon, you could have put 3 holes on both sides. That just kills me.
And then the buttons look different and are.
I like the buttons.
I like the buttons on Verizon. Yeah.
They're very sleek, and they're kind of that brushed metal, and it kind of matches the camera surround and everything. But.
And if you don't want to use them, they're just not as in the way because they're not 3/4 of an inch wide.
Right.
All right. So it looks like I hadn't even looked yet because I've been out of it. Looks like T-Mobile has the same kind of stockish design. So Verizon's, I guess, the only one that changed it up.
Plus, you have that horribly misplaced logo on the top right corner.
Look, I know that we like to bash Verizon for these logos, but it really does look like it's crammed in there.
It really does. It's like there's not enough room for it. It's, because there's not enough room above or below the... they could have put it.
I assume it's where it is for a reason, and that they couldn't put it. I mean, it really just looks forced.
There's one on the back, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
They should have.
It's fun to get on that bandwagon and yell at them, and we do it, because we're bored, I guess. If it bothers you, sorry. If it doesn't bother you, that's fine too. But this one just looks forced, even more so than all the others we've seen.
Absolutely.
I don't know. It's a nice phone. I like it. I still want smaller phones. I still like the Moto X size better, but it's not a bad phone.
But it feels small considering this. I mean, it's the same. It's almost, I just holding it up against the HTC One. It's almost the exact same dimensions as the One,
right?
With a 5.2-inch screen.
Yeah, giant screen on it with no bezel.
And a nice big battery. I know we're seeing these battery tests come out. You know how I feel about battery tests. But a 3,000 milliamp hour battery is going to, cure what ails you a lot of the time.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to look. Because I just had the Verizon HTC One, and I found that got a lot better battery life in my use than the international version.
Right.
Like drastically better, like 30-40% better. So I'll be interested to see how the Verizon G2 works compared to that too.
You want to do a couple more questions?
Looks like they've been piling up.
I know. Actually, that's what the numbers are. So people can vote them up. Okay, gotcha. Cool. So we're figuring this out as we go. So I will click it, and that means we're allowed to talk about it now, right?
Click.
Click.
Click, 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 click.
All right. So you guys see it?
Not yet. Now we see it.
Now you see it? All right. Go for it, Jerry.
Henry wants to know, how do we think that the HTC One Max's fingerprint scanner will compare to the iPhone 5S's one?
Now, I mean, preface that we don't know that it has a
Right.
fingerprint.
That's what I was going to
but-
say.
One leak showed a hole for a fingerprint scanner.
I don't buy that there's going to be a
Chinese
fingerprint
version.
scanner on it. I don't think it's going to be there. If it is, it's... See, I'm torn on this.
You remember when there was a fingerprint scanner on this for a while?
Yeah.
So,
Any security is better than no security. Having a fingerprint scanner on your phone is better than Phil not putting a pin on his phone at all.
right.
But I just hate people thinking that, oh, it's got a fingerprint scanner on it now, nobody can ever hack my phone, because that's not even close to being true.
Mm-hmm.
Fingerprint scanners that are, and I'll use the word unhackable, but I don't mean anything is unhackable. If you try hard enough, you'll break it. They're using big power and big hardware behind them to do millions and millions and millions of calculations. What we're doing on our phone is safe the way that the lock on your front door is safe. If somebody wants in, they're going to get in. So we don't want to put, too much emphasis on how safe it is.
So yeah, I think that's a good segue. You want to talk iPhone for a second, because this week was the big iPhone launch.
Let's do it.
And Jerry wrote something, and I know everybody's talking about it. I tell you, I mean, look, end of the day, it's still an iPhone, right? I don't want to use iOS. I can appreciate it for what it is. I can appreciate the innovations in hardware that they've done, whatever. I think what excites me most about this new iPhone 5S is the home button has been, never mind the fingerprints, but the home button itself has been redesigned. To me, that was like this legacy thing that just did not grow with the rest of the platform.
Mm-hmm.
And it certainly looks a lot better now. I'm curious to feel the plastic ones, to feel the C's. And
Wait. Polycarbonate.
I could,
Not
I
glass.
could
Right.
send you this HTC first if you want a sneak peek.
I know, right? Like, I'm really curious if it's that sort of thing. I don't know. It's it's still an iPhone, and it's still too small, and it runs iOS obviously, and that's just not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm excited to see this home button and see how it's changed.
Hey, I think they did a hell of a good job. People that want an iPhone, they don't want a Galaxy Note 3 or a G2. They want an iPhone, and that's
Right.
what they got. It'll be a lot better innards. It'll run a lot better. It's a little more future-proof as iOS moves forward. The 5S is now your new cutoff point. There's going to come a day where nothing older than the 5S is going to work for apps. It's all good stuff. I'm more power to them. I'm a little bit pissed over what their entry-level model is, because Apple can change things, and only Apple can, and they didn't. And I kind of wish they would, but other than that, I think Apple fans should be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me a little bit about the 64-bit thing, because I think I understand at a very, very basic level what this is. I mean, the new thing is that they have a 64-bit processor, right?
Right.
And from my understanding, that means at a very, very basic level, because this is me we're talking about, you'll be able to use more RAM in the long run. It involves the way you address the memory.
How I try to explain it is, right now you've got your G2. It's got that
Mhm.
Snapdragon 800 in it. It's a
Right.
hell of a strong processor. And it has 32 streams flowing into that river.
Okay.
The new iPhone has 64 streams flowing into that river. Which one's going to be able to move more water?
Neither.
Well,
Right.
64 is more than 32. You've
Right.
got twice as big a data path.
Right. So you got a bigger hose, but you're not necessarily shoving the water through it anymore.
Right. You have to be able to use it, and that's the thing. I know he stood up there and he told us that it's the software 64-bit, but it's if iOS 7 is 64-bit, it won't work on the 5C or any other phone.
Right.
If it's not 64-bit on all the other phones, they've got a huge fragmentation issue that they
Right.
don't want to discuss. And in any case, everything in iTunes is 32-bit.
So, I mean, the real thing is they're positioning themselves for proper 64-bit down the
Right.
road, right? Like at some
Yeah.
point you have to start.
Right.
Like 3 or 4 years down the road when they stop supporting anything earlier than the 5S.
Okay. Exactly. Our ARM came out with 64-bit support, I think, late last year, the beginning of this year. Apple jumped on it first. Nobody should be surprised at the announcements that are coming out. Samsung says, "Oh, we were planning on doing that too," because everybody was. It's just something that has to be done. But right now, it's not going to make that big a difference. But it doesn't hurt anything.
It seems like a silly thing to be arguing about.
It is.
It's silly.
Fair enough.
Because just like Jerry said, it's the only device that's going to have it even in their lineup. So even their brand new phone they just released, the 5C, still has the old processor from the 5. Okay. And so anything that wants to run on both as a universal app is going to have to be 32-bit.
Right.
And that way for the foreseeable future. Apple will say iOS, let's say iOS 10. They'll tell the developers 6 months ahead of time, look, iOS 10 is going to be, remember the iPad? Remember how you had to start releasing 2 versions? Mm-hmm. Well, now you're going to have a 3rd. And they'll release, the next iPhone, and then they'll have to release a separate version of iOS for 64-bit devices, or just not support any of the old ones. They'll tackle that when they get to it.
Look, end users, my mom's not going to care.
Right.
No.
Okay.
As long as Angry Birds plays, and it will it'll play better, but not because it's 64-bit. It'll play better because the processor's been improved.
Gotcha. I'm curious to see how it does. It's you look at it strategically, and it's still really interesting. And it's still a really interesting move because it's not really. Jerry wrote a good piece, I think, on how this isn't really a cheaper iPhone. The iPhone 5C is not cheaper.
Well, it's cheaper for Apple to build.
Well, sure.
That makes sense, but
right. But for you and me, it's no cheaper than anything we have access to on Android, right?
No, it's purely a marketing move, so that now they have 2 models that they can advertise really heavily. So now it's not the mid-range Android phone versus last year's iPhone. It's the mid-range Android phone versus this brand new cheaper iPhone. It's just a different marketing message they can make.
I like that they're doing colors too. God, I got so much hate from the Apple people after that little 30-second post I did. Again, sitting there in Paris, I'm like, watch this. But they were mad. You just don't get it.
No,
I get it. Yeah. Well.
There's nothing to get.
What's not to get? There are lots of other phones out there with colors. That was the joke, and they took it so seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god!
Old T9 Symbian phones you could get in bunches of colors. That's
right,
and that's a good thing. I want a yellow one. I'm not gonna lie. I want a yellow iPhone 5C. I may end up breaking down and buying one just because it looks good, and we need iOS devices around here to test stuff out anyway. It's not that I'll carry it everywhere and use it everywhere, but it'll be fun to play with, and it looks good.
Let's move past Apple, I think.
Let's do that.
Oh, by the way, actually, let's not, because future Samsung phones will also have 64-bit CPUs.
Cool.
And that's not in response to Apple. That's
just, you're gonna,
Right.
Samsung.
Well, the response was in response to Apple.
Yeah.
But this has been in development for a long time.
Right.
Qualcomm can say the same thing. Everybody can say the same thing.
Samsung comes out and talks about the new processor things they have in the pipeline all the time. Just last week they were just talking about how they're rolling out the new octa-core stuff in the next couple of months. It's that's not a response to anybody else making octa-core processors. That's just they've been working on that for the last year.
So I get over to Europe and I'm hanging out with Alex and Richard, and they're great guys to hang out with. You get to see them once, twice a year maybe, and they gave me so much crap because anytime we talk about anything computers these days, I have a one-word answer for any problem, and they just kept throwing this back at me the whole time, and that word is.
I can say it.
Say it.
Don't you want to say it? Haswell.
Haswell. And I bring up Haswell because I got a new MacBook Air this summer when those came out. It's running the Intel Haswell platform, right? And so, Jerry, talk to me about these new Chromebooks that just got announced, because they're now running Haswell as well, also.
Yeah, we saw a couple, I think Acer and HP. The HP ones look really nice.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Acer, HP, Toshiba.
You're going to get the benefit that comes with the Haswell, bus, chipset, whatever you want to call it. And that's a lot. That's more than battery life. There's a lot more involved than just your battery life. I so disappointed when they're not making a Haswell Pixel, because that would have just been the ultimate machine.
Well, who says they're not?
I thought I read somewhere that Google said they weren't going to do it.
Yeah, it just went up 5 minutes ago that kind of backed off that a little bit. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
But that's going to be. Now I'm not real positive that it's going to work as well as it does on Windows or OS X.
Right.
Chrome OS is still, it's still Linux at heart, and Intel will need to make sure they've worked with the kernel guys to get the same results, especially in the power management out of Haswell that we see in other places. But it's definitely not going to hurt, and you're going to.
No, go ahead.
I would say you're going to see better performance and more economical from an energy standpoint. So it's a good thing. I can't wait, and they're cheap.
And they're quoting big battery life numbers. We're talking about the Acer is pretty much the same as the previous Acer that had some other low end Intel chip, and they're saying 9.5 or 8.5 hours of battery life on that one, up from 4 to 8.5 is ridiculous. And the HP is at 9.5, and I think the HP it's a 14-inch laptop. It's kind of heavy, 4 pounds, 0.8 inches thick, and it's $299.
I tell you, if I didn't have to, everyone keeps asking why don't you use a Pixel for everything. If I didn't have to crunch video and use Photoshop, I might very well.
Dude, one day I'm just going to hop in my car, I'm going to drive down there, and I'm going to help you set up a little thing in your closet so you can sit on your deck with your Pixel and just remotely crunch video on another machine.
It still seems like work.
It's great.
Hey, speaking of Pixels, we got a couple to give away. I think we're wrapping that up like any time now, right, guys? We're waiting to hear back from somebody, I think.
Yep, we're waiting to hear back from the second winner. We've already heard back from one, so cool. We got 2 phones and 2 Pixels to give out.
And that's just like tip of the iceberg. We have so much stuff to give away right now. I just want to like lay everything out on a table and be like, come get it.
Have a big yard sale.
I know, right? Because we still have some Shield stuff to give away, including, by the way, AR drones. Yep. As soon as Jerry and I get replacement parts for the ones we broke.
That was an accident.
Well, yeah, it was. We didn't mean to. In fact, I didn't even break mine. One of my kids did it, or my wife did. I forget which.
I think one of your kids broke mine, too.
Probably.
Think of it.
There you go. What else is going on? So Twitter got a big redesign. It's in the beta track right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think it looks better, but it's still not going to get me to move off Carbon.
It definitely looks better. There's still bugs because it's the first release into a beta channel, but they still have issues with some white text on white backgrounds.
Well, and some other really basic stuff. Eric Richardson from Willow Tree, a really good app developer, they do the Verge app, pointed out that you can't just swipe from the left to pull out the drawer. Like, you have to go up and hit the button. I mean, that's basic. Our app does it. If our app does it, Twitter should do it.
Yeah.
At least that's kind of how I see it.
And there are plenty of other apps that use swiping lists and also use the slide-in drawer. It's not impossible to manage. So,
right.
I guess our app does all those things. So there's stuff like that. They've started to do image previews inline, but they're not going to have Instagram previews and previews from third-party apps.
It's ridiculous.
So, you're still not getting things like that, but the official Twitter app is getting a lot better. I mean, it's hard to argue that it's progressing with every single update, and I've started using it as my only Twitter app because they've just solved issues that I had with it, and it's I'm tired of API limits on the third-party apps. It's not the app's fault, but when I have 4 phones syncing on Plume to and they hit the API limit, every 30 minutes just because they're syncing in the background, that's just a terrible experience. And so they've won by just shutting down the third-party developers, I guess.
I'll tell you what. Any Twitter developers listening, I've left Twitter. I'm gone. But you can win me back. Make a mobile app that lets me filter out by words. I can get rid of survey, contest, free, and iPad, and I'll come back.
I mean, Carbon does that.
You can actually filter out, so I don't have to see replies back to me, fill out the survey, punch the monkey, win an iPad, because that just drives me batty.
Do you really get that many of those?
Yes.
Huh. Yep, filters. Right there. Okay. I should remember this, if anyone should remember the features of Carbon.
I thought of that last night when I got home and read all the news I missed.
Yeah.
That's one thing Twitter needs to put in there as a way for me to filter out that garbage. So I will give it a try.
I filtered out all the iPhone news the other day. I was like, why is Twitter so quiet? Oh, right. It was gone. Hey, what's up with these updates coming into the Google Play editions? I haven't checked to see if I've got them yet. Both
versions have gotten up to JWR 66Y. There was just that security update that hit Nexus phones at the end of August. Yeah. It's that fix for the random number generation, not an exploit, but just it wasn't as random as it thought.
Right. Cool. And you know what? I'm glad that we saw them as fast as we did, and I'm a little bit worried that it took so long all at the same time.
Because it took about as long as the previous one, right? That's the 4.3 update.
Well, but that was quite a bit bigger update than this little 17K or whatever. That kind of worries me. If it took 3.5 weeks just to get this security update pushed out, what's going to happen when 4.4 comes out? HTC, Samsung, you work hard with Google, make us happy, make us proud of you.
Well, and speaking of HTC, a new leak came out for the AT&T M7 for the AT&T HTC one. I was going to load it up on mine, but I had to go back to Windows to do it, and drivers are just messed up, and it's So maybe I'll just wait. I mean, figure it's coming any time now, right? Supposedly into September was it anyway.
Well, we had heard that before HTC even said it, that end of September is the for AT&T and T-Mobile, that's when they want it done.
Which we'll be interested to see how it works out, because the international version already has 4.2.2, and you would expect that to get 4.3 before the other ones, but the other ones are jumping from 4.1 to 4.3, so...
Right, the way HTC explained it is they're going to push out 4.3 with Sense 5 as is in the U.S. Then they're going to work on Sense 5.5 with 4.3, and they're going to feed that to Europe. And then when the Max comes out, and they didn't say when to expect this or anything, they're going to try to get. They listed a few phones all on the same platform, and that'll be 4.3 with Sense 5.5. So if they can pull that off, good on them. That's the way to do it.
I'm going to do another question. Jonathan asks, I got to click it.
You have to click.
Who's the company that needs to switch to a more stock Android experience? LG, HTC, or Samsung? For my money, it's LG. I don't know. Do any of them actually have to switch?
Yeah, I mean, need is a very strong word there, right? I mean, they've built up a brand for themselves with their own thing. We like to talk about how they've done a lot of crazy stuff on the LG one, on the G2, but for somebody that is coming from another LG phone, it looks completely fine to them. If they've went through a year or 2 years with that, it looks fine. So them needing to go to a stock experience would just be jarring to a lot of their other customers. So I don't think it's much of a need. It's maybe paring it back a little bit.
So I won't even go that far. For every person like Jonathan or like myself who would prefer the stock Android experience, there's at least another person out there who loves what Samsung, LG, and HTC are doing. I want those phones out there. I want everybody to have what they want.
Well, and I mean, you say stock, and I'm still running Action Launcher on everything. So am I really
Yeah.
running stock?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Or do I get the main experience that I want, and then I put up with everything else? I put up with the weird menus, and I think it's weird that LG gives you the option. Oh, I meant to check this one and make sure it's there too. That LG gives you the option to change up the settings menu from the tabs back to a list view, which I didn't even realize. Somebody pointed it out.
Oh, it does.
In a post yesterday.
I was so glad when I saw that.
Well, that'll
Really?
be interesting because the Verizon one is normal list view by default. So
Right, and that's I think the post they commented in, because that's what threw me off, and I didn't even think to hit the menu button because there I am not being used to having a menu button in a settings menu anymore.
oh yeah, look at that, switch to tab view.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Ah, that menu button.
But you can change the background color and make it transparent,
Oh well.
and add the Q slide window.
The what?
Q slide, some
Yeah.
shortcut. Look through. You'll see it. We'll keep looking through the settings when we're done.
I have to go back to the mode of just whenever I don't see something, just hit the menu button and assume it's all there.
Yep.
I tell you, I mean, that was the biggest thing for me last week. I love the size of the Moto X. I love it. I love the size. I love the feel. I love it as a phone. The camera is killing me. The camera's just not in. And moving from it to the G2, it's like we talked about it before.
There's your solution, Phil.
I don't want to carry.
All
a
you have
second
to do
phone.
is.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, with the G2, I didn't feel like I needed to carry another phone to possibly get another shot. The Moto X, I need to. I said something about it when I got home, and I switched back to the Moto X when I got back in the States for LTE. And Puneet Soni commented that they're working on it, basically, on a G Plus post. So,
Hey, you know what though? I've come to just an epiphany for me, a Jerry epiphany, not
Yes.
a real epiphany.
Jepiphany?
I ended up taking the same picture with a couple different phones,
Mhm.
and then with my camera, and looked at them, and I don't even care about camera phones anymore. Even the best ones suck.
Really?
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
I mean,
Jerry and I were just talking about this last night a little bit
I
too.
don't- I don't want them to look horrible. I want them to be passable. But if you can make a camera phone that's good enough for Google Plus or Facebook, I think you nailed it. You're done.
You think the Moto X is there, though?
I ain't gonna go that far.
That's the
Moto
thing.
X.
I don't know if there was a difference there between the Moto X and the Droid Ultra, but I thought that the Droid Ultra was there with the pictures that I was able to take with it.
The Moto X, if you take 5 pictures of everything, one of them's going to be okay.
I think I discovered part of what it is when the shutter fires and what you see on the display right then is not actually what it shot.
Oh, that would make sense.
And that's part of the problem. So I think I'm going to get something really dark. And a lot of the times I am getting something really dark. But a few times it would look dark there and then it would turn out fine. Now leaving HDR on all the time helps a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I'll go into Snapseed and just
But then
crank up
you-
the brightness. But
You have to hold it really, really still
yeah.
because you've left HDR on. But
And HDR on the G2 takes longer to fire. It takes longer to process. So a couple times
Wow.
I just missed a picture because I moved too soon.
well, there's no real solution for that though because you have to get
Right.
3 times the image data, so it's going to take 3 times as long.
Yeah. To me, switching cameras has been the bigger thing as I'm switching, between all these phones. I still miss having Zoe's and video
Yes.
highlights from the HTC One.
That's
But with that, I miss photospheres.
Yep. That's what I was getting, about the cameras. The optics, you're never going to get great optics because everything's so small. So put features in there. Look at what that Perfectly Clear app. Boy, I don't know what magic they can do with a phone, but even your Moto X pictures, run that on them. Let's get stuff like that in the cameras. And Zoe's, photospheres. What LG has spheres. Samsung's little animated GIF that they make out of a 4-second clip. That's cool. Keep that kind of stuff up.
I'm just so jaded now at all these events where they tell us how great the camera is,
Yep.
and really, unless you're Apple, I'm not sure I'm gonna believe you just on spec. I mean, they said it at the Moto X event, and then we get it, and it's pretty apparent right away that it's really nothing that special.
It definitely came up very short of what they kind of promised, but I don't know. I just never thought that it was that bad.
I remember they told me the Galaxy Nexus would have a great camera.
Right.
Then I remember they told me the Nexus 4 would have a great camera. Then I remember they told me the Moto X would have a great camera. Now I decided I'm going to stop listening.
Right. It's just like, LG has good cameras. HTC has pretty good cameras. Samsung has pretty good, I still think I'll put Samsung above HTC just on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely would.
Well, yeah, the difference between a Sony or a good Samsung camera and something like the Moto X, it's apparent. You can tell, but I still think it's not worth worrying about because it's still not great.
Right, and going back to the Cube X10 thing really quick, your standard $150 point and shoot destroys any of these cameras by far.
Yeah.
Not just because it has optical zoom and things like that, but just the sensor is 15, 20 times larger on a point and shoot than it is on one of these cameras.
Go to Target, back at where the little photo area is, and you'll see these little plastic Vivitars that have the Hulk or My Little Pony on them. They're $15. Pick one up, look at the size of the lens on it, and then look at your smartphone. There's your answer. I mean, it's the components.
There's something, when it comes down to it, it's just they don't have enough room to work with.
Right.
Somebody just emailed in, they spent some time with the Verizon G2 yesterday, and the GPS wouldn't work at all, and Google Maps would crash immediately.
Andrew?
Haven't had a single crash, and the GPS thing has come up because I've used maps to scroll around, and there's GPS.
Tell it to navigate to my house.
And I've also I geotag all my tweets and my Google Plus posts, and it has used both those and hasn't.
There you go.
Fair. I mean, look, there are a lot of variables there. Hey, I tell you what else I start missing is
there you go.
Is touchless control. Actually, especially when I'm in the car. Okay, Google now.
See, you use that a lot?
Yeah, I'm using it in the car mainly.
Yeah, see, I don't drive, so that was the main thing.
Right, and I use it to leave myself reminders. Yeah, like I'm in the car
I do reminders.
If I want to text Shannon while I'm in the car, I'd just be like, okay, Google now. Text Shannon Nickinson. Hey, I'm sending you a text in the middle of the podcast.
Wait.
And it's going to do it right now. It's still too slow.
Say all that again.
No, and it's sending her a text right now. It's just
the
slow.
thing that I used it the most for was I could plug it in on the nightstand when I went to bed and just say set an alarm. Okay, Google now set an alarm for 8 a.m. and I know that it's going to do it. I never had a misfire on setting an alarm or anything basic like that.
Maybe I'm old. I don't want to talk to my phone unless it's somebody talking back to me.
Henry asks, where do you think the speaker and earpiece are hiding in the new Nexus 5 leaked through the FCC? They're on there somewhere. I wouldn't worry about it.
We haven't seen the front, so the earpiece is probably hiding on the front.
Well, we have. It's just blurry.
I'm pretty sure we haven't seen the back yet either.
Well, yeah. So there will be, a speaker. There will be an earpiece.
Boom sound. That's what everybody's getting at when they start this, I think, is boom sound. And I don't think that's going to happen.
Or bone conduction.
Right. Well, and then you look at how small the little speaker is in the bottom of the G2 and stuff like that. And it can just be a little drilled, or what phones, like the 1X, phones like that just had the little drilled speaker in the back that you can't even see it at the right angle.
No, I'm not reading too much into all that at this point. Anything else, guys? We're kind of playing catch up from last week a little bit. Even more reviews coming, so we got a bunch of G2s. We've got, I don't know what other stuff. I've got a battery case for the Nexus 4 to do. Oh, that's right, you do.
It came in a package that's a clear tube with a Fiji water bottle in it.
Oh, that's what that was. I saw your picture.
You gotta do it. It's like an invitation, man. How come have you not done it yet?
Yeah, 2 seconds. It's right here.
While he's getting that, one more question. Cesar writes, is Google Wallet and NFC use dead? Not compatible on the Moto X, Verizon, or AT&T. I'm hoping T-Mo will have it. I often use it still on my Gene X. It's dead. I'm sorry. It's I didn't go to Dan Hesse's speech at IFA just because he wasn't going to say anything, but basically he said, yeah, there's a lot standing in the way of that stuff still. I would stay away from it.
And people like Mr. Hesse are the reason why it's dead. Everybody wants to use what makes them the most money, and that's not Google Wallet.
Right.
That's ISIS or something like that.
It's all just a big mess. Still no NFC in the iPhone, by the way, which is partially what it's going to take to get any of that going.
Well, I mean, so what does NFC come into the? I mean, it's never going to be compatible. You're not going to be able to Android beam between an iPhone and a Nexus 4. So what's it matter if they use NFC or Bluetooth or whatever?
Because there's so much more you can do with it. I mean, look at the QX10 there, right? To pair with it, you just tap it, and it works. And you can't do that with the iPhone, obviously.
Right, but I don't see. I mean, you can see them using NFC, the technology, but that doesn't mean that the protocol that they end up using to do that after the initiate, because all NFC does right now is it's, with the QX10, it's just initiating a Wi-Fi connection or initiating a Bluetooth connection or whatever it does. It's what happens after the tap that matters, and the iPhone's just not going to do the same things after the tap as it does with another phone.
Right. But on the other hand, 7 of every 10 smartphones sold are Android, and most of them have NFC. That is a fairly recent 6-8 month development. It's gotten that big. That's going to make a difference, guys. And a year from now, there's a lot of Android smartphones out there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that just because Google Wallet as a mobile payment system has kind of fallen off, that I don't think that means that NFC is, NFC has plenty of uses, like you said. The Google Wallet issues weren't tied to NFC. The Google Wallet issues were tied to structural issues of payment processors and carriers and everybody getting in the way. NFC still has a place, absolutely.
All right. Anything else? I think we're done. So this questions thing worked out okay, I guess.
We'll have to
experiment with that some more.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, so when you click a question to answer it, is that giving us like a timestamp on the playback?
I don't know. We'll find out.
I have a feeling that's might, and if that's what it does, we need to next couple weeks get people in on that, because that's cool.
Dude, you should work at Google. That's ingenious.
I have a feeling that's what it does.
I'll bet it doesn't do it, just because it's Google. Version 2 will do it.
Cool. All right, well, we will catch up with the emails again next week. We wanted to play with the questions this week. So if you want to email us, do it at podcast@androidcentral.com. As we are every week, we are brought to you by shopandroid.com. You can call them at 888-468-6158, or just go to shopandroid.com. They're already getting the Note 3 listed. They're going to start getting stuff in for that fairly soon. They're getting Moto X stuff in now, so keep an eye on that. And if you want to follow us all on Google+, just search our names. That's the easiest thing to do. Anything else going on? We're still working on our app. If you haven't downloaded it yet, go do so. Obviously, we still have some things to fix and features we want to add, so thank you for your patience on that. But we're absolutely still working on it. What else? We've got a new template in our mobile forums if mobile's your way to go, so that's been refreshed. The mobile site itself has been refreshed. It's a little heavier than the old mobile site was, so you actually get some images now, but it's much better.
Not as jarring switch from the full version to the mobile version.
Right. I think it's still absolutely doable. Anything else? Any other housekeeping you guys can think of?
I've got a Nexus 7 Bluetooth keyboard case that I'm working on a review for.
Cool.
I've got a phone NFC keyboard that I'm working with. So Monday.
Look at that. NFC is not dead.
Awesome.
And
thank you guys.
I was just going to say, over the weekend, I got a dude coming with a truck to help haul some of this junk away.
Oh, my God. I got so much stuff here. It's getting bad. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us live on the video and in the chat room and with the questions. So we'll definitely do more questions next week. And I don't know, maybe we'll start doing like a midweek Q&A session or something. Just ask away. We'll see.
Sure.
Maybe Jerry could do that. Ask Jerry. Ask Uncle Jerry. My kids would love that. So, with that, we will say adieu. Actually, I'm not sure what's going to happen next week because I've got a meeting out of town on Friday, so maybe we'll do the podcast on Thursday or something. We'll give you a heads up before we do it. We'll see. We'll see what's going on. Maybe we'll take the week off if nothing's happening. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So keep your ears out, and we will let you know. And thanks again for joining us. See ya.
Later on.
Later, guys.